This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points, presented by Community Coffee, official coffee of the Houston Texans. Also sponsored by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans. And by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Amegy, the official business bank of the Houston Texans.
Let's go for what we got. Need some juice, need some energy, and just do your job. Play some ball.
Here comes pressure. He's going to go down. Touchdown, Houston. Rock and roll.
Hello, friends, and welcome into Texans Extra Points. Look at this. We've got a massive, massive show because of the two fellas to my left. That's Mark Vandermeer on the end. He's the voice of the Houston Texans, and the man in the middle, Sean Pendergast of Sports Radio 610. You hear him in the mornings, you hear him before and after Texans games, and it's so good that he's with us. We've got a lot to get into, and we're going to talk so much more about the Texans and Bears matchup. But first, we've got quick hits, some news of the week to get out of the way. And by the way, my name's Drew Doherty. I'm the host of the show. And we talk about Davis Mills first things first. The quarterback said he's got to play a little bit better. He's got to make some throws. And, hey, it's on him for this improvement on the football team.
I mean, I'm comfortable in those situations. Just got to execute my job. Looking back on it, there's opportunities down the field. Got to execute with those. Missed a couple throws this last game, but then if they cover up, like I said before, we got to be able to get our checkdowns the ball and let them make plays and move the ball that way. So just seeing that on film and reflecting on it, I mean, I think we're in a really good spot right now. And I mean, those fourth quarter moments late in the game when we got to go down and do something, those what makes the make or break between a good team and a bad team. So I think our team's, really optimistic about where we're at, and we're ready to go prove it this weekend.
One thing that can help Mills in the passing attack is a more robust run game. We saw a bit of it with Dameon Pierce last week. The rookie ran hard, ran tough, and might need more touches, at least if you listen to Brandon Cooks.
DP is like, he's always finishing. You talk about a guy that's finishing every single run. We feel that as a receiver group as well because we got to stay intact. But anytime you can do that in the run game, it's going to help your offense, you know what I mean? And that's just the nature of the beast.
Been some shuffling on the offensive line. The week one starter at center was Justin Britt, and now it's going to be Scott Quessenberry.
With JB out, he stepped up. And I think he did a really good job in playing and communicating with us and doing what he can do to put us in the best position. And I think going forward, no matter who's at center, whether it's him, JB, those guys are good people, and those guys can do what's best for the offensive line, put us in the right position.
And the head coach of the Houston Texans is Lovie Smith. He used to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So the man in charge talked about his return home.
Going back, spent a lot of time in Chicago, some great years, but it's game 3. As I see it, there's an opponent on the other side.
All right, now that we got some news out of the way from the week that was, Sean, Mark, let's talk about that run game that we sort of referenced there with Dameon Pierce. You're both familiar with the over-under theory when it comes to gambling, right? I've heard about it. You've heard about it, okay. And that's not the first time I've made that joke on the show. It won't be the last with you. 17.5 touches over under for Dameon Pierce this week.
I feel like it's got to be over for 2 reasons. One, that gives him the best chance to win. 2, I feel like if I say anything under related to touches for Dameon Pierce, there's going to be people waiting outside my building for me. Yeah. But seriously, Dameon Pierce, the more Dameon Pierce, the better, especially against the Bears. They do not defend the run very well.
Yeah. He had 16 touches last week, so I'm saying 17.5. Mark, where do you stand on that?
Absolutely over. Remember the first play of the game last week? That was supposed to go to Pierce. Yep. A little pass and see what he can do with it in space. I expect more of that kind of stuff. Well executed, better executed, obviously, and as many carries as possible. Still needs that 2 punch to the 1 punch, but I expect over 17.5.
Yeah, you talk about that first play of the game. Well, the next play of the game was an 8-yard rush by Pierce. That works. More of that. And that wasn't an outlier. He did quite a bit of that on Sunday in Denver. So complete this sentence. For a win over the Bears, Davis Mills must
be more accurate.
Okay.
That's the big thing for me so far this year with Davis Mills. 2 things. 1, he's not been good in the fourth quarter. But 2, his incompletions, they look bad on the box score. They look really bad, a lot of them, when you watch them. in person or on television. Yeah. He's just got to be more accurate delivering the football, in my opinion.
And to his credit, he said he basically echoed what you just said. Yeah. He said, "It's on me. I got to throw the ball better."
57% or something like that. That ain't getting it done.
All right, what's the must for you from Davis Mills?
Well, he can't be 50% completion rate. That's terrible in this league. And if you are, you better be hitting some big plays, which he didn't in the Denver game. Now he had the 2 TDs in the Colts game. So I'm saying 65% completion rate would be very nice against the Bears, and hit a big play or two, all right? I know the guys like Cooks in the end zone last week or at the goal line, maybe he could have made that catch. Conley the week before where he could have caught it and ran with it. But again, those passes were not exactly where they needed to be. He's got to be on point, and the receivers do have to help him out. If they catch one of those really tough ones, Drew, I think that could really get them on a roll.
Yeah, we're singing a different song if that happens. Okay, let's stick with you. You bring up Brandon Cooks. Outside of number 13, what are some pass catchers that got to get involved this week?
Well, Nico's the obvious one, and he's a big target. Mills should trust him, right? You can throw him some balls where it's sort of 50-50-ish, and maybe Nico can win those battles. And I think, look, I'm going to put the tight ends in a box here and say, let's shake up that box and see what you can get out of that group. So I'm probably stealing all the position groups for you, Sean, but I want to see more people involved. He spread the ball around very well week 1 and even week 2 to a certain extent, but you need to see more catches.
Yeah, you need 6s with some of that spread around. Like you got twice from O.J. Howard in week 1. How about you?
I only have Troy Hairston left. So but
rookie fullback.
No, mine was tight ends also. Mine was going to be tight ends, and for the reason that I think they're going to try to run the football quite a bit, and I think because of that, they're going to be in a lot of heavy sets. I think they're going to be in a lot of 2 tight end, maybe even 3 tight end sets, and I think they're going to try to really run the football and pound the football. But if you're able to run the football and you get a little play action off of some of those heavy formations, I think you got guys that can really do some damage in O.J. Howard and Brevin Jordan and even Farrell Brown with the run after the catch.
Hey, offensive line-wise, how big of a deal, how not big of a deal is it, this change at center from Britt to Quessenberry?
I don't think it's a huge deal, only because Quessenberry's been getting a ton of action in the preseason with the first team. He got all the action in the preseason games with the first team, and honestly, he's been playing better better than Justin Britt. You know, whatever Justin has going on, I hope everything's okay. But the fact of the matter is, Scott Quessenberry's been a better football player than Justin.
Yeah, what have you seen from the O-line as far as the changes go, Mark?
And they signed Jimmy Morrissey to the active
roster.
Here, He started games. He's won with you. So that's good to have those 2 guys able to work that out. And now you have some clarity here, okay? We're not going to have Justin Britt for a while. It's not, is he going to be back? Is he not? Go with what you have. Do the best you possibly can. I think the O-line, you have to get some continuity here. Maybe if they have a solid running game, if they can run for $125 against the Bears, that's going to go a long way toward the next week and the week after building continuity.
All right, good stuff. We got to get to a Dameon Pierce telestrator because John Harris broke it all down last week against the Denver Broncos. I don't know which run he's going to choose because there were a lot to choose from. He ran the ball finally 15 times for 69 yards, also had a catch for 8 yards, and a lot of those were double-digit runs. So, John, take it away.
Welcome to Texas Telestrated, presented by BMW. I'm your host, John Harris, and we're going to take a look at the Texans' run game, in particular, Dameon Pierce, this offensive line, and what they were able to do against the Broncos that they've got to continue to do going forward in the 2022 season. So I'm going to give you a look first at this. This is the overall look, 2x2, just so you have a full view of what the Broncos were looking at, what they were trying to do as well. So 2x2 balanced look, okay? So in the box, you don't really, it's basically 5-on-5. But the Broncos are going to try and steal a gap by bringing that corner, that nickel, into the blitz. So let's take a look at the end zone view here. All right, and so you can get a look at it, and the reason, you'll see why in a second, why I wanted to use this view. This defensive back is going to come right in here, and he's going to add himself into the run blitz, but he really doesn't get where he needs to go. He needs to be earlier so he can kind of crash on this, but he's late, thankfully. The Texans are going to run what should be a power. Here, 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 pull A.J. Cann around, and Damien should follow him, but Damien's vision takes him to where he needs to go right away. As soon as, he sees this right away, and he's gone. Instead of messing with this guy, probably would have run him over, but instead of messing with him, he sees this gap. He's like, get north and south in a hurry. So that's what he's going to do. So he gets north and south. Kenyon with a nice block on the slant guy right there. These 2 guys taken care of. And now Damien's getting to the second level right here. And what's important about Damien is the fact that at the second level, he sometimes blocks the linebacker by running through that tackle. As you can see here, that's a tough block for Laramie. He's got to go all the way inside he's not always going to get to that linebacker. So sometimes the running back's got to take care of him on his own. It's you on that guy right there. Dameon wins this one, picking up another 3-4 yards after contact. Getting this second level is sometimes hard for offensive linemen. He runs through him and picks up another 3-4 yards and almost ended up with more. Dameon Pierce has been fun to watch. That's a major reason why, and that's got to continue in 2022.
Here comes the rush as Wilson gets the snap, throwing downfield, and Sutton with a grab, and it ends up in the hands of Kirko on the way down. It's a pick.
Welcome back. That was a heck of an interception by Christian Kirksey. And the guy who called it over there, that was a nice call, Mark. Christian Kirksey.
It was weird.
It was very weird. I didn't know how. I saw the big thump from Petrie, and there's all the celebration.
All of a sudden, Kirksey comes down with a football on the way down, and I was just hoping it was going to stand, and it did. They didn't get the big points, though, Drew. Big problem. Got to get the big points on these drives.
Very true. It resulted in a field goal, which you want 6s instead of 3s. Sean Pendergast, Mark Vandermeer, Drew Doherty here on Texans Extra Points. Okay, defense through 2 games. They've allowed 3 touchdowns. They've taken the ball away 3 times now, if you include that. So they're clearly doing some nice things. They made a Hall of Fame quarterback look pretty darn pedestrian last week with Russell Wilson. What have you liked from this defense, aside from the stuff I just mentioned?
Yeah, I think the red zone, I think they've been really good in the red zone. That's the reason why they're only averaging 18 points a game given up, especially against the Broncos. Yeah. They did a lot of good things down in goal-to-go situations, whereas in the past, those are situations I'm already chalking up 7. They held them to 3s. Yeah. They did what they needed to do to win these football games. I think that's the biggest thing, broadest thing I can say about the defense. They did enough, more than their job, to win these first 2 football games.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines as Sean here. I don't think it's breaking any news, right?
Well, what did we talk about in the offseason, preseason? That front 7, all right? You added a lot of talent there, and it's paying dividends, and you added talent on the back end, and they're also doing pretty well. People are so focused, hyper-focused on Stingley. I get it. Yeah. They targeted Sutton. Yeah, he got some numbers, but look at the scoreboard. You hold an opponent to 16 in their building, you take it every single time in the NFL. So I like what they're doing. Drew, I liken it to this is year 2 in the Lovey defense. Might be year 1 Lovey head coach, year 1 Pep Hamilton offensive coordinator, year 2 Lovey defense, and it shows with the added talent. They're playing well so far.
Yeah, and you bring up the stuff with Stingley. Cortland Sutton, he's going to do that to a lot of folks. And Stingley, yes, there were times he lost that battle. There were times he absolutely won the battle, breaking up a touchdown, a would-be touchdown on the fade. I mean, upending Cortland Sutton. He looked pretty good and I saw those moments. What's the outlook for him, for Petrie, now 2 games in? How much more optimistic are you guys about what that duo has done? We'll start with you, Mark.
Well, look, they're just starting out their careers here, right? It's week 3. It's really tracking very well so far. Right. And now you play a quarterback who has not put up big passing numbers. They are so talented, and so you're looking at some raw skills there. They're only going to sharpen as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think they look, for guys that young, I think they look fearless. I think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing with Stingley in that Denver game was he was pretty resilient in the game. He gets hit for the touchdown that got reversed early in the game.
And they go right back.
And then they go right back to him, and he easily knocks the ball away. He talked about, or Mark may have talked about the hit on the little kind of screen to Sutton where he kind of upended him right there. And Petrie's he's been a joy since he walked into the building. He's been anointed a starter since he set foot in the building here. He's got to tackle a little bit better, but I feel really, really good about both of those picks right now.
All right, we like completing sentences lately here on Texas Extra Points, so complete this one. I think the Texans pass rush
must keep Fields in the pocket. Must keep Fields. If they're not sacking him, they got to keep him in front of them. Because I think the only way Justin Fields wins this game for Chicago is with his legs. Right. And the only way he does that is if he drops back to pass and they break contain and he's off to the races. So I think they've got to make sure with their pass rush they stay disciplined and keep him in the pocket.
All right, we got some Texans trivia. The Texans have been victorious against the Bears 4 times in their history. Name 3 of the quarterbacks on either side who played in that game. Wait, Mark, just wait. We're back on Texans Extra Points. Come on.
Schaub rolls out to the right side. Matt throwing right side of the end zone. Foster diving grab. He's got the touchdown reception. Match job to Arian Foster, and Foster bows in the end zone. Namaste.
We're in the Ford Studios. You are watching Texans Extra Points. I'm Drew. That's Sean. He's Mark. And that was one of the biggest games in franchise history. 7-1 Texans go to Chicago, take down the 7-1 Bears on Sunday Night Football in the rain. Arian Foster, one of his signature plays from his career.
I was there. It was wet.
It was wet.
It was very wet.
I was driving the press box. But
The defense played so well that night.
Yeah.
And you had Daniel Manning against his former team, and they got after it, and Cutler gets knocked out of the game. Wait, was it Cutler?
Yeah.
Cutler got
it was
knocked out.
Cutler.
Jason Campbell came in.
Campbell came in, and Campbell's had a ton of starts at that time in his career. He came in. He was not exactly a rookie backup, but the Texans still got to him.
Yeah, and that changed the course of the Bears' season. They were 7-1. They went 10-6 down the stretch.
You miss your quarterback a little bit.
That hurts. That really hurts. All right, let's talk about these Bears. David Montgomery, he comes out of the gate, and the last time you play him in the 20-year, and you're basically dead on arrival because he goes bananas on that first or second or third play. What do you do to contain David Montgomery?
I think, they've been in position to make a lot of plays in the run game here. They just are not tackling very well right now. So I think the biggest thing they got to do is if they're in position to make a play, bring him to the ground. And that's how I feel. So many of these running plays, these first couple games, you can watch the play develop, and you're like, oh, they got bodies right there. And next thing you know, it's going to happen with Javonte Williams and Jonathan Taylor. They're two of the best tackle breakers in the league. They got to bring them to. They got to get better at tackling, 100%.
Quarterback-wise, what do you see from Fields?
Well, like Sean said, he can run with the football. You know, he only threw it 11 times in that loss to the Packers. How does that happen, right? You're down, you're not throwing it more, but they're going to try, okay? They know that they do have a weapon there with his legs, no question about that. They got to get that aerial game going for them, and they do have some good pass catchers. But I see a guy who's developing through. Look, this is not a team that's loaded with talent, and I think the loser of this game is going to feel miserable because they both feel like they should get it. Texans are on the road. They have the tougher challenge that way. And the Bears beat the 49ers opening weekend. I know it was in a rice paddy, but so what? They won the game. This is a tougher than expected opponent.
Well, we got you at a Gatorade Texan to watch. Who's your guy in this game? Who are you watching?
Well, so I'm not going to go with the obvious Pierce, okay? I'm going to go back to the D-line, and I'm going to go back to the Week 1 defensive line star. Jerry Hughes is my guy to watch in this game.
That's a good one. How about you?
Mine's Derek Stingley, and I know that sounds weird for a game where the other team is going to be trying to pound the ball for 40 times, but I feel like if they can get Justin Fields in bad situations, he's thrown 3 interceptions in 28 pass attempts. Right? He's only attempted 28 passes this year. And Stingley's kind of, Mooney is a nice receiver for the Bears, but he's kind of stepping down in weight class this week compared to Sutton last week. So Stingley is the guy I'm going to have my eyes on.
That's a good one. I had him in one of the podcasts, so I'm with you. So you stole mine. I'm going to go with Kamu Grugier-Hill. He's all over the field, does a good job of that. He's going to get tested. This linebacking core is going to get tested by this run game. He's got to be Johnny on the spot, keep things bottled up, and like you mentioned, keep tackling really, really well because it's been a bugaboo for the Texans through these first 2 games. If you got to point out bugaboos on a defense that's been pretty darn good through a couple contests. Scoreboard, exactly. All right, stick with us because we've got more Texans Extra Points. We've got a trivia answer as well, and we've got keys to a victory. It's all coming up next here on Texans Extra Points.
Texans Extra Points, presented by Community Coffee, official coffee of the Houston Texans. Also sponsored by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans. And by Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans.
We're back. The Texans have beaten the Bears 4 times in franchise history. They played them back in 2003, 2004 in the early days. 4, it was bitter cold. I think the coldest game in Texans history. Andre Johnson, Corey Bradford walked down the tunnel, and Corey Bradford said, "Nope," for pre-games, and he went back in and just played cold and
caught a touchdown pass.
Caught a touchdown, yeah.
Corey.
He said, Andre Johnson said the soup on the sidelines was frozen. It was that cold. So, give me 3 quarterbacks from any of these victories over the last 20 years that have played in these games. It's easy for you, I know.
Chad Hutchinson
Oh,
played
you
for
went
the
the
Bears
hard one first. Yeah, I like it.
in that cold one. All right, we mentioned Campbell and Cutler.
Yep. How about you?
2012.
You got one or two you can throw. You can do a Texans one.
Okay, well, Brock Osweiler in the season
16,
opener in 2016. And then 2012 was a Matt Schaub joint.
Yes, it was.
And 2008, was it a Schaub or a Rosenfels?
It was Schaub and Kyle Orton for the other side.
Okay.
So there we go.
That was the last game of the season to go 500.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Eyes are glazing over with young people right now with all this old man trivia.
Guys?
Okay, it's time for keys to a victory. Mark, what are your two?
All right, well, Sean already stole the keep Fields contained take because I think that's really important. But I'm going to say a huge key is Mills able to complete the short passes. All right, just keep it simple. We all want big plays. Throw to Pierce out of the backfield. Throw to the tight ends. Receiver screens. I want to see some success there because I think that's really going to keep things going for the ground game as a whole. That's a big key for me.
Okay. How about you?
I mentioned tackle a couple times. You know, tackling on defense. I think on offense, it's keeping Davis Mills clean.
Yeah.
I think it's keeping him without pressure. And for whatever reason this year, under pressure, he's been a whole lot worse than he was last year under pressure. Passer rating with no pressure, clean pocket's been 88.3 so far this year, which isn't great, but 55.3 under pressure so far in these two games.
And he's gotten rocked in each of the last games in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So I think the key is just keeping Davis clean. And I think if they do that, they'll be able to do what Mark was talking about, which is get that short passing game going and then maybe hit one over the top at some point.
Okay, I want less than 90 yards on the ground from the Bears rushing attack. Keep that under 90. I think that's going to go a long, long way. And I'll go to my old standby. Make a big, big play on special teams that swings the game. Haven't done that yet this year, really. You've been solid in coverage, but nothing that's, broken a game open or put something out of reach. Let's do that. Special teams, defense. Let's come home from the Windy City with a record of 1-1-1. You guys cool with that?
1-1-1 sounds good to me right now.
Yeah.
All right. Mark Vandermeer, thank you. Sean Pendergast, thank you. Let's do this all again. Love having you all on the show. And we love you guys watching, so we appreciate it. We can't wait to see you again very, very soon. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go Texans.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.